A cozy community center room, softly lit with a circle of chairs. Penny, a warm and reflective woman in her 50s, sits among a small group of listeners. She holds a mug of tea, her voice steady but filled with emotion as she begins to share. Penny, thank you all for being here. I've been coming to this group for a while now, and I've heard so many of your stories. They've given me the courage to finally share mine. Back in 2015, I had an experience that changed everything I thought I knew about life, death, and, well, everything beyond. It started with an allergic reaction, one so bad I stopped breathing. But it wasn't just about my body shutting down. It was about what happened when I left it. I was at home when it hit. My throat tightened, my chest felt like it was being crushed, and I knew I was in trouble. I'd had allergies before, so I grabbed my EpiPen, jammed it into my thigh, and my husband rushed me to the hospital. I used to work in healthcare, so I knew the drill, but nothing prepares you for the moment you realize you might not make it. By the time we got to the ER, I was gasping, barely able to speak. The staff got me into a room, but things moved so fast, and then they didn't. Everything slowed down. I remember the room fading, like someone turned down the volume on the world. The beeping machines, the nurses' voices, they got distant, like I was underwater. And then, I wasn't in my body anymore. I was above it, looking down at this woman on the hospital bed, tubes everywhere, doctors scrambling. I didn't even recognize her as me at first. She looked so fragile, so small. I felt this strange calm, like I was just an observer. Then it got weird. I wasn't in the hospital anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere vast and dark, but not scary, not at first. It was like being in a void, weightless, no ground beneath me, no walls to touch. I couldn't tell if I was floating or falling. Time didn't work the way it does here. It felt like I was there for days, maybe years, but also like no time at all. I started to panic, wondering if I'd always been there, if my life, my kids, my job, my memories, was just a dream I'd made up to comfort myself. But then something shifted. I felt this pull, like a quiet voice inside me saying, "Move." I didn't know how, but I leaned into it, and suddenly I was moving, fast, like flying through a starless night. Far off, I saw a faint glow, like a window in the distance. I went toward it, and when I got closer, it was like looking through a foggy pane of glass. On the other side, I saw me, in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines. My daughter was there, standing by my side, her face so still but her eyes full of fear. I could feel her heart, her thoughts, like they were my own. She was so scared, and I couldn't reach her. I pressed against that barrier, desperate to hold her, but it was like hitting a wall. That's when I got angry. I turned my thoughts upward to whatever was out there. God, the universe, something. And I demanded to know why. Why was I stuck here? Why was my daughter hurting? Why was I being shown this if I couldn't do anything? And then, in the darkness, I felt it. A presence, warm and enormous, like the sun breaking through clouds. It wasn't just light, it was love. So big it swallowed my anger whole. And with it came this understanding. I'd built this place. Not the hospital, not the void, but the walls around my heart. After my divorce, I'd shut everyone out, thinking it would keep me safe. But safety isn't living. I'd trapped myself, and this place, this darkness, was just a reflection of that. The presence didn't speak in words, not exactly. It was more like thoughts pouring into me, showing me moments from my life. There was this one time at the grocery store, years ago, when I saw a mom struggling to pay for her kids' food. I slipped her a few dollars, nothing big, just enough to cover it. I'd forgotten about it, but the presence showed me how that moment rippled forward. That mom paid it forward, helping someone else years later. It wasn't about the money. It was about seeing her, really seeing her, in that moment of need. Then it showed me the hard stuff. Times I'd judged people in my heart, even if I never said it out loud. Like a coworker who wasn't great at her job. I'd never been cruel, but I'd held this quiet resentment, thinking she didn't care. The presence showed me her life, her struggles, her pain, and I saw how she was trying, in her own way to do good. I realized my thoughts had weight, that they could hold someone back or lift them up. I hadn't been lifting anyone. I don't know how long I was there, but at some point I felt a choice coming. Stay or go back. Part of me wanted to stay. There was so much peace and so much clarity. But I thought about my kids, my grandkids, all the moments I hadn't lived yet. I thought about that wall I'd built around myself, how I'd kept love out as much as I'd kept pain in. I wanted to tear it down. I wanted to live, really live. When I made that choice, I felt the presence pull away, but not completely. It was like it was still with me, just quieter. I woke up in the hospital, my family around me, the nurse checking my chart. I tried to tell them I was just with God, but they just smiled like I was delirious. Maybe I was, but I knew what I'd seen, what I'd felt. After that, I was sick for a long time. The allergic reactions kept coming, sending me back to the hospital over and over. Each time I'd slip out of my body again, and each time I'd hear that same quiet voice, say yes, live. So I started saying yes to people, to opportunities, to life. I started speaking about my experience, even though it terrified me. I started letting people in, even when it felt risky. And slowly the episode stopped. I haven't had one in years. I'm still figuring out what it all means. But I know this. We're here for a reason, not some grand cosmic purpose, but the small moments, helping someone, listening, loving, even when it's hard. That's what I learned beyond the veil. That's what I'm trying to live now. Penny pauses, takes a sip of her tea, and smiles softly at the group. Thank you for letting me share that. It's not easy, but it feels good to say it out loud.